It is really chilly outside. And we got some more snow, just a little bit. There's probably maybe 3-4 inches of snow, but it kind of blew around a little bit, and so it's kind of a bummer. You'd like to just have it stick in one place. You could have consistent moisture. With that being said, with like negative digits outside, what are we doing in the shop? Well, we just got done cleaning all those peas, and the Magnum, it's back in the shop. And you're probably thinking, again? Yeah, that's exactly my thoughts too. No, what's going on is this tractor's always had this problem ever since we bought it. And I'll explain to you fairly shortly soon on why it's got the issue, but I just want to show you what I did. And Nick's probably a little disappointed because he just got this cab looking pretty nice. Yeah, that's all tore apart. Right now, we have 4 levers right here. There's 2 remotes in the back, and then these 2 levers here run your bucket controls in the front. Well, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mount this joystick. I haven't decided where I want it, but I'm gonna mount that joystick in there so you can have your bucket controls all on one stick. But here's the issue with the hydraulics on this tractor. We only have 2 remotes in the back. There is a 3rd one, but there's no cable hooked up to use it. So I'm going to take, out of those 3 levers, or 4 levers, I'm gonna take 3 of them to run 3 remotes on the back. So then that way you have 3 hookups, which we need very, very much so. And then we have this valve body right here that runs the bucket. And then I'm gonna put those 2 cables on this valve body. But here's the thing, guys. When you don't use the hydraulics on the tractor, what happens is the pump, it's a load sensing pump. So if you're not using the hydraulics, the pump will basically go into relax mode, is a good way to put it. They call it standby. And then that way you're not using horsepower and it's trying to pump a bunch of hydraulic fluid and unnecessary use. But once you pull a lever or you turn the steering wheel, all of a sudden your tractor's saying, hey, I need this hydraulic pressure to do these certain things. So what it does is the pump will actually ramp up and it'll start increasing hydraulic pressure and the amount of flow that is required to run whatever you're doing. That's called load sensing. Now here's the other thing that's called pressure comp. Pressure comp is different than load sensing. Pressure comp is where you set the pump so that it stays max pressure all the time of what you set. So this is what somebody did on this tractor when they put this loader on. You got a load sensing loader or tractor, pressure comp valve body for the front. That right there is not a load sensing valve body. So what happens is when you pull a lever to lift your bucket up and down, it's running on standby pressure, which is very little, on your pump, which means you don't have much flow and no pressure to lift your bucket up and down. You're probably wondering, how come we never use this loader on this tractor? That is why. So what you have to do is you have to turn the steering wheel, increase the pressure, or you pop a lever there to try to go into pressure comp so that that will lift up and down. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to put a little solenoid that has a signal line from that valve body to the main pump on here. So on your joystick on the joystick up above that has the bucket controls, there's going to be a button. When you push the button, it's going to activate this hydraulic pump, which then sends it into pressure comp, which means it's pressure all the time, so you can use the bucket controls on this loader. Now you're probably wondering, well, why don't I just get another valve body that's load sensing? I'll explain that now. The valve body that's on it, I already have it. To get a load sensing valve body, you're looking at close to $4 grand. For me to put the joystick and a push button and a solenoid, you're probably looking at 400, roughly. It's kind of a no-brainer. So however often we use this bucket, just push the button, use your controls. That's the logic in what I'm trying to do. So anyways, I've got to take that all apart and put a couple cables and a few other things and mount that joystick and then see how well this thing works. You get it? It's a little confusing? Yeah, I think so too. And I think this guy over here needs moral support. Yeah, he needed that. He's cleaning the shop, literally cleaning the ceiling and the walls. Now, I'm going to remove either this hydraulic lever or this hydraulic lever. I might remove this one right here. and then have these 3 for the back. Now years ago, this thing had 2 levers up here that were all wonky, and I didn't like those, and they wouldn't work very well for the loader bucket. And so I took those out and I put these cables and tied them into these 2 right here. Well, I need to cut that bracket off and pull those cables out because I'm not using those anymore. And luckily for me, it's easy for me to just chop that thing off and I don't do any damage to the original brackets in the tractor. So anyways, let's take those cables out and go from there. Okay, so I went in town. They didn't have the fittings I needed to add another signal line to this hydraulic pump. So I had to come up with a couple fittings they had and weld them all together and use the lathe and make this really weird contraption. Yeah, should work, we'll see. So I'll put this on the pump, put the existing line from the tractor back on the pump, and then this new one here is the one that's gonna go from this one to that solenoid, and then from the solenoid to the pressure side of that. And then I'll have to have a case strain, and that'll go back into the transmission somewhere. And then I gotta hook up these cables here, make a bracket for that real quick, finish. There's a lot to do, He's still cleaning. Looking good.
Yeah, I'm feeling up right now.
Well, I saw a surgeon the other day, didn't get an MRI done, they scheduled one, so when we get that, we'll know exactly what is wrong in here. But I've got more movement, it's not as stiff, it's not as swollen, still some bruising going on. But I do something just right, and man, it hurts. So I gotta take it easy. I'm not gonna do a lot with this arm. It's gonna be just kinda there, maybe holding the camera. Can't really help the guys with this much, so I'm gonna rebuild a demo saw, because I think I can do that one-handed. So let's tear apart a demo saw, put a new top end in it, and see if we can get it fixed, because we like that thing, and it doesn't start right now. So let's make it run. So I tried the other day to get this thing to start. Took the carburetor apart, cleaned it up, did about everything, and it just wouldn't start. And our compression tester kit disappeared. So I can't take the compression on it, but just judging from the strength it takes to pull the pull cord, pretty sure it's got low compression. Rings are shot.
Question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Did you try?
What, pull starting it?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, okay. Just.
No, obviously not.
All right. I was curious. Thanks.
No, you don't try. That's no. I should have. So I got a kit. Let's put it in. Can't be that hard. There's a video on the YouTube. That's what you guys are watching this for, right? So I'm gonna watch a video on a guy taking this apart and putting a new top end on it, and then we'll get it running. There should be. Look how tiny that piston is. Look at that little thing. Been amazing. I actually stuck my fingernail in here and you can feel the grooves in the cylinder. So there definitely was leaking compression. If you run your fingernail back and forth, you can feel the edges.
Ah! You monster. Yeah. You could have just smeared some like bright stuff or like cold weld or JB weld or like just get a new one.
I don't know. I think it's all in your head.
So here's our new cylinder head right here. Very shiny inside. And here's the new piston. Look at that little guy. Isn't that cute? And then we got our new ring right here. And then of course, pin. So I can take it off the rod, take the piston off the rod, put the ring on the new piston, kind of get it in place. We'll get a clamp of some type to squeeze that ring tight so we can put the new cylinder head on top. Of course, I don't want to forget the gasket. And then I'll just start the process of putting this thing back together again. But, oh, and by the way, I did check, and it wasn't the decompressor on the side of the cylinder head that's been known to leak compression out. And I did check, there was spark, there was plenty of fuel getting to the cylinder, the fuel was good, brand new, mixed. So you had spark, you had fuel, just didn't have compression. So that's what this is gonna fix. Okay, new cylinder head is on, new piston's on. It actually wasn't terribly hard. I had to make a tool to access some of the bolts that were holding on because, well, we didn't have that in the shop, so made it work. Now I'm just gonna start putting everything back together again, and hopefully I do it right. And then I'm gonna have leg arms do the pulling on this thing because I can't. But I'm thinking it's gonna start 3 or 4 pulls, 3 or 4, 3, 4, maybe 15, somewhere in that area. All right, it's about 90% together. I'm just gonna have leg arm see if you can get it started before I finish putting it together, just in case you gotta take it apart again. Run the throttle a little bit.
You guys set it full throttle to get it to start.
Oh, okay. All right, so I didn't count the pulls, but there's probably more like 20. Still, it's idling really good. We bought this thing used, and it's done a lot of work for us. We loaned it out, and someone abused it, and it came back and never ran great since. With that said, it runs better than I think we got it first time. So she's together, that's good. So we're gonna be using that thing here probably not long for some cut some grain bins apart. Yeah, cool, glad I can do something. I'm not completely crippled. This arm looks fine, but man, yeah, that spot, you find it, and bam, ooh, not good.
It doesn't show on the camera, but the cables go into this valve body for your bucket control. Okay, the original cables that I had made that went up to the levers up here were pretty long, and I had to modify them to make them work here and up in the side of the cab. Got new cables. All right, well, it comes with a joystick, new cables. Let's just swap it all out. So I swapped it all out. Those new cables were basically junk. That's the best way to put it. Junk. The crimped ends kept pulling out. I tried to tighten them up, tried to do other things. They gave me a world of hurt. I spent a lot of time modifying those new cables onto this and trying to get the new ones to work. Finally said, forget it. I'm done with it. Take out these junk cables and take the old ones that I had laying back on the shelf from this, modify the brackets, everything, put it back on this one, adjust it up there, modify the brackets up there, and all of that's together, and it works. That's all that matters, it works. But a lot of time was wasted messing with some very junk cables that came. But on the bright side, these junk cables are gonna come in handy. They're gonna actually be very handy. These, I'm gonna use to adjust my hydraulic controls. They're flexible, they're stiff, they won't twist and rotate. And what I've got going on here, I know I'm just chattering along, you guys just have to go along with the ride. This is gonna be our adjustment. My dad came up with a good idea. I was like, what do you want for a knob? He's like, well, what about a wheel stud? You know, a lug nut or something. I'm like, that's a good idea. Well, we have these. Put a set screw on the side, you can adjust it. This will crimp to the cable crimp down below. We'll have our adjustments here. Yeah, pretty sweet. Good idea, Dad. You rock. It's a nice little adjustment. There we have it. I made a little cute cup holder too. That'll scratch every single coffee cup we put in there because it's steel and there's no padding, and that's fine, right? If it's not scratched, that means you're not using it. So there's my little adjustment dials. Hopefully they'll work. And it shouldn't take much, if any, to really adjust those cables. And then they had, when we bought this tractor, this little hole right here must have been for like a plastic cup holder piece to go in it. It has always been there. And that's where we literally put our coffee cups, right in that area. And then you hit a bump and they spill over and stain and destroy everything here. Let's not talk about it. Anyways, I think I got to trim out just a little bit of plastic, but I think that's going to work out fairly well. And then you can adjust your hydraulic pressure. So we got the valves here with three. Good deal. I'm happy. For now. I'm happy for now. Once I get those cables in, and then I can start buttoning all this up, and then put the wheel back on, and then this tractor, for the most part, will be pretty much good to go for a while. I'd say I'm done underneath here, so let's put that tire back on. And I just have to run electrical cable from the solenoid up to the push button to activate your pressure comp. And then let's see what happens. Try it. In theory, it should work. We'll find out.
Well, now that Leg Arms did all the hard work and he had to take off for a meeting tonight, I'm gonna take over and do all the easy work. Because whenever I try to do a little bit of hard work, I get reminded again of something's wrong in my arm, in my shoulder, in my chest, which I'm gonna find out in 2 days. I got an MRI scheduled, we'll know. what the result is. I'm hoping it's just a minor tear. I keep talking about it, but they say if you do surgery, and if it's comprehensive, it could set you back 6 to 8 months of recovery. And farming season is just about to kick off, so I don't know. I can't afford that. But we'll just pray there's no surgery involved, that I just gotta take it easy. So that's what I've been doing. But here's what I can do. He said I can wash the tractor down. So I'm gonna wash the tractor down, and then 2, I'll get it warm, and I'm gonna drop the oil on it, which is a great time because I think I can change oil with one arm. We'll do it. Oh, doesn't that look nice? Look at that. That is nice. Cup holder, you got your remote speeds, flow adjusters. I bought the switch recently, just put it in there. For a while, we've just been crossing wires. Now we actually have a hitch switch. And then all your loader controls here instead of here. So now this can be for what's back there. Got our 750 in here for our auto steer. Let's fire up. Now that we've had a rebuilt transmission, an updated cab interior, new hydraulics like levers and joysticks, and new hydraulic remotes in the back that hopefully won't leak like the old ones did, rebuilt front end on this thing, wheel seals, pins, bushings. It's gonna be a nice tractor. She's getting to come right along. Still haven't done any cosmetic stuff like, you know, paint. It needs it. There's some fiberglass work that needs to be done. Really could use a chrome stack, but I am not doing that unless the paint's done because it just won't look right without it. So this tractor is pretty solid at this point. It just doesn't look as pretty as it could yet, but we're getting there. So the next step is I need to put some fluids in this thing. And that is where we're putting in some Case IH number 1 1540 engine oil. It might actually be probably the best oil this tractor's ever had in its lifetime. A lot has improved over the years with oils, and this stuff's top notch. We're putting it in all of our equipment these days. So what we'll be doing is dropping the engine oil. I took the pan there, cleaned it out. It's a shuttle that we cut down, works awesome. It was really dirty, but we do save old engine oil. We put it in shuttles and then we give it to neighbors that need it for their furnaces and some of their buildings they heat with. Works really good that way. We don't. We have gas, but they use oil. And then I'll be dropping the fuel filters as well. Might as well put some new ones on there. But I won't be touching any of the transmission hydraulic oil because it just got changed. Remember, they split the tractor, new transmission work, all brand new oil. Not touching that. So let's get to this thing, get it done. Good idea to fill your filters before you put them on. That way, there's oil in your tractor the moment it kicks over, instead of having to try to pump fluid to fill your filter up and then go through the critical parts of your engine. And just so you know, when you first fill your filter up, you think it's full, it's not. There's a lot of material that's still got to leak down inside and soak into. So give it a second, let it drain down, and keep filling it. That shuttle makes things nice. But I don't want to waste this oil. So you gotta keep tabs on it. Because before you know it, you're plumb full. Almost there. That's good. So if you guys are about to do some oil changes, I recommend stopping by your local Case IH dealer and pick up a barrel that's 1540. It's good oil. It'll keep your tractors happy. Because who wouldn't want a happy big bud? Huh? It's soon. All right, guys, God bless. We'll catch you in the next episode. See you then.